Hi, everybody. Um, how's it going? I'm in the midst of an oncoming thunderstorm and it rattles the bottom of the trailer. So if you hear like something that sounds like a tornado, it's the incoming storm, which is like, it feels fitting for life in a way, but also very beautiful because, it's loud and it's scary and it's change and it's potential destruction. And there's something always so beautiful about a thunderstorm. It adds like instant cozy to the day. If you don't have to like run errands and drive in this downpour, I love a good thunderstorm. And it's like organic and it's fitting for this time of life. A couple days ago, I happened to catch Eckhart Tolle doing a live meditation. And it wasn't a typical meditation. It was just kind of him live streaming for like 20 minutes, just talking in this very meditative way, how Eckhart does, about life and presence and the connectedness of all of us and just the awareness and how that is God. That's it. Like being fully conscious and present. And it's like that unity consciousness that I think is coming into fruition in my life and a lot of people's lives, but I'm still so far removed from like one of those people who has true inner peace. And I don't know if that's realistic, for myself. Like everybody has ups and downs, but I don't know if I'm ever going to be that person that can be like Aaron Dowdy or whatever. And all these people, they're always in Costa Rica too. And it seems like that's like a hot spot for like spiritual people to go to. They're always in beautiful tropical locations. But they have these backstories and it's like, oh, I was a normal person, just kind of feeling this void, feeling alone, feeling like I didn't fit in. And then this happened and now here I am, talking with confidence. And I don't think that's me, but I don't want to be somebody who's just reacting either. And someone who's just making content about, it's like I have these opinions and things to get off my chest, but I don't want to feed into negativity. And I have to constantly remind myself with my thoughts, videos, what I speak about and what I consume. Like, is this something that's going to give me pleasure and joy? And that's enough. If you just want like an escape, it doesn't have to be like serious all the time. Cheer Denise is someone that I love because I really love her analysis of pop culture. She has done wonderful book breakdowns and she has spot on Meghan Markle content. And I thought like, man, maybe I should talk about my opinions on more like pop culture things, but I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be I don't think I can be that person. I don't think I can be like a spiritual person, but like I have these interests and I have these opinions and it's constantly back and forth in my head. Like, what is going to be beneficial for me? What is going to be, forward motion in my life and continue this like inertia in like a good direction, something that just feels authentic. And that's, if it feels true, then it is, and that's the only thing I have to answer for. But like, why is that so hard to do? Like, why is it so difficult to just be yourself, just to be yourself? Why? Like, what's the holdup? Like, what am I afraid of? And I have a kind of like a love-hate relationship with law of attraction, which really is law of assumption, which has kind of taken me into more of I've kind of paired like law of assumption principles with Carl Jung or Jung. I was taught that it's pronounced young, but I hear a lot of people say Jung, so I kind of wonder with kind of like I don't know, like the sociological, psychological nature of the soul and of consciousness. The frustrating thing about law of assumption or law of attraction is that people like me, people who are seeking some answers and are searching for some understanding and some tools on how to live and consciously create life while we are alive, people that are seeking that direction and that understanding and sense of self turn to the law of attraction, and which, like I said, is really the law of assumption. But if you are someone like that, it's like it doesn't seem like it's helpful for people who are looking, because it's like you can just listen to this content forever, but it has to actually click in a way where it's like, okay, I'm not just going to be a consumer of this content, and I'm not just going to be like ruminating and musing over my next step or thought or whatever. And you actually have to become this person who has faith in themselves to navigate reality from a centered place of autonomy. And that's been incredibly difficult, because that's it. That's the, to my understanding, that's the law of assumption. Like, I think, therefore I am. And the plot twist, as it turns out, is that we do all possess the capacity to choose what we think. And there are people, one of the big ones is Cynthia, but there's been so many people who have, like, manifested like $50 million and like mega millions lottery winnings. And that's kind of the big one. It's like, okay, if you can do that, and if you, then why isn't everybody happier? Like, yeah, why isn't everybody rich? But why isn't everybody just okay or able to live? And it's always this bullshit hangups from the past, or the future. And that's like what Eckhart was talking about when he talks about a lot. It's like if you're thinking about shit that happened in the past, or that's going to happen potentially, it's like you're anywhere but in the present. So it's like you're not even really alive. It's like you're just, the lights are on but nobody's home. It's like you're in a, like a dream or something. You're just like going through life asleep. That's how I felt, because I was always in my head thinking about the past and why. And that's what led me to law of attraction and the law of assumption stuff, is kind of like, why? There has to be more to this. And I just felt like if I could understand kind of like the almost like the biology of the soul or something, like the mechanisms in which I was like functioning or not functioning, that it would somehow be easier to live. And all we have to do, as it turns out, is just whatever we want to do. I can do whatever I want to do. You can do, we that's what we do anyway. But if things are happening that we don't like, it's because we're not creating life consciously from this moment. Like, what do I want to do? What do you want to do? And then do it. And when I get sidetracked, it is because I'm worried about the future, or it's because I'm thinking, oh God, well, my mother doesn't believe in me or whatever. I'm like ruminating on the past. And so I was wondering the other day, like, what was like the worst thing that's ever happened to me? And what was the worst thing that I've ever done in life? And I think the answer to those two questions explains like why you have ended up where you are right now, but it doesn't explain like where you're going, you know? It explains where you were, but not where you are. And where you are now is where you are going. And this is my understanding. Anyway, so, and I feel like it's so it can be so, you can really just like get lost in the sauce thinking about the technicalities of consciousness and awareness and love, because I think we have been taught to kind of look at all that stuff as very like on a very superficial level, you know. And my literal whole life, as I've said, like from the very my entire memories up until about age 34, I was always aware, from like the outside in. I based my everything, my every move, every aspect of my personality, you know, I just formed all these layers, like baklava layers of an identity that I call myself based on, you know, external things. And that's pop culture and like family expectations. And we all have that. That's everybody, you know. We are what we are told to be. And if you're from like generational poverty or like this lineage of teen parenthood um or addiction or whatever, then it's like, you know, you're born into those expectations for better, like, or for worse, like those examples. And if it's the opposite, it's like you're, you know, that's what you're supposed to do because that's what, you know, is the right thing to do because that's what your family does. And that's true with faith and everything. You know, we're not taught to be anything different, to break any type of mold. And it's like even celebrities kids, you know, none of them grow up to be like public school teachers or accountants. They, you know, it's always something in the arts. And if they were to actually say, you know what, I want to give up everything and go like be a nun or go, you know, meditate in the Himalayan mountains or something like that. If you just wanted to do something radically different, then you would be like the freak of your family. And so there's like this pressure that comes with being, I guess, the black sheep, for lack of a better word. You know, you can feel when you don't fit what you're supposed to fit. You can feel the like the confines of that mold. And so I put these like layers on forever. Like by kindergarten, I had like these layers that I would wear of trying to fit. And I never once until, you know, recently in life began asking myself like, well, what do I want to do? You know, what do I want to do? And I look at the beach, like moving to the beach. It's a goal sometimes, and sometimes it's a dream. Sometimes it's a fantasy, and sometimes it's like, no, that's what I want to do, and this is what's going to happen. People move all the time, but I have never made a move, like a literal move, outside of my state that I have very much a love hate relationship with. And now that I'm older, I do love West Virginia, and I kind of almost feel defensive of my home state. But you know, it's there's good and bad. It's like your home state is like your family. There's positive and negatives. But I've never lived outside of West Virginia, and I've never lived anywhere that was someplace I wanted to live. My every place I've ever lived in has been in reaction to something outside of me. You know, either what I'm supposed to do, you know, like societal expectations and family pressure, and perceived societal expectations and perceived family pressure, or it was addiction and codependency. And I think that's why I just really looked at mental illness, codependency slash love addiction slash serial monogamy. Um, my really toxic love affairs and addiction. And that's why I just considered my vices and kind of my mental illness as one of my best confidants for a long time. I really leaned into it because it was something outside of me that made sense. And it was this is the reason why I'm doing this, It told me where to go. And it's you give into drugs and then your addiction kind of becomes another layer. And then all of a sudden it's oh, well, it's not me, it's my addiction, But it was kind of a relief in a way, because it explained why I didn't know where I wanted to go, or even that I could go anywhere. And so when I've started the process for years now, for 6 years. I'm 40 years old, and I've really started to try to consciously be in this state of presence of just living from what I want to do. And I've noticed that there's a lot of the baggage, the weight of those layers that I wore for so long, that I wore placed on myself, or that were placed on me. It's kind of like a weight to release. And even just thinking about doing what I want to do, living with autonomy, and not, what my family wants me to do, or what is the, responsible or prudent or logical, whatever, course of action to live and maneuver life from this autonomy. I honestly have some baggage from the church, from the Catholic Church, and from my family. It's almost looked at like a judgment, like you're acting selfishly, or well, you can't go through life doing what you want to do. And I was watching My So-Called Life. I try to rewatch that show for the most part about once a year. I'll just watch an episode. It's only one season. It's like a near perfect series. It's just a beautiful depiction of adolescence and female adolescence. It's beautiful. But I'll put it on My So-Called Life as I'm doing house chores and stuff. And Angela Chase, Claire Danes, love her. She said in one of the episodes, I believe something to the effect of, well, everybody says, we're told we're just supposed to be ourselves and do what we want to do or whatever. But if everybody just did what they wanted to do, the world would come to a screeching halt. And, that's true. The world as we know it would, but it's changing. It's never going to come into a screeching halt, but it's going to come to a screeching U-turn. That's what's happening now, because so much is changing. And if everybody did what they wanted to do, it the old system would not be anymore. It would be something different. And I think there wouldn't be the need for all this, all these layers. It's as a society, as the one human race, it's we have these layers of baggage and expectations, and it's wrong turns and judgment and just acting and thinking and reacting and then doing reactions to the reacting, and just on to infinity and beyond the pale. it's like we have just been taught and have for so long lived from this outside in way. And if we would all just, I think, live from a place of um, autonomy, it wouldn't be selfishness. It would just be from a place of self love. And that's another thing. It's like, oh, that sounds a little bit, arrogant or self centered. But man, I'm finding it really helpful personally to really work on just loving myself and just letting it go. And I've been doing the Ho'oponopono meditation for the second time. I'm 3 weeks into doing it for the second time, and that is something that will change your life. The Ho'oponopono meditation, do it for 3 weeks at least, in the morning, and it will change your life. It's amazing, and it's amazing because it's everything. It's I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. That's what I'm like talking about, and that's what I'm trying to ingest and just be. you know I'm sorry for all of it, and I try personally not to even get very specific. I have, when doing the meditation, thought about specific things that I wanted to heal, that I wanted to accept, that I wanted to forgive myself for, or that I wanted to forgive. But really, I've just started to look at it as all of it, because we are all so connected that I just have to, apologize for my part and ask for forgiveness, um, show that gratitude of thanks, and, you know, just like the Beatles said, love. That's everything. And it's amazing. That's like life in 4 sentences. And I've started to try to look at myself through Ho'oponopono and, the law of assumption, Eckhart Tolle, Carl Jung, and just self acceptance, and just trying consciously to be uh, conscious of myself and of love and of life, just to be in the state of presence. I've really just tried to come back to this place, instead of saying, like, I'm healing, or, I want to heal this, or I am working on healing this. I'm starting to just say I am healed enough. Because when I said I am healed, it just felt kind of in my heart disingenuous, because it's a lifelong journey for everyone. No one's going to be fully healed of everything, but maybe it's enough, and we are enough. And so when I say, like, when I take a deep breath and just say, I am healed enough, I'm healed enough, it's okay. And it's going to be okay, because I am healed enough. I found that to be really helpful. So y'all have a good night.